All righty. I'm going to dare say there's a level of addiction to this thing. I am so enjoying myself. We're going to go on to chapter 1. So, The 12 Powers of Man by Charles Fillmore. I posted the introduction video prior to coming on here. This is now chapter 1, so let's go. And he begins. The subconscious realm in man has 12 great centers of action, with 12 presiding egos or identities. When Jesus had attained a certain soul development, he called his 12 apostles to him. This means that when man is developing out of mere personal consciousness into spiritual consciousness, he begins to train deeper and larger powers. He sends his thoughts down into the inner centers of his organism, and through his word quickens them to life. This is a connection with your body on a deeper level than being able to touch things, okay? Where before his powers have worked in the personal, now they begin to expand and work in the universal, okay? This is the first and the second coming of Christ, spoken of in the scriptures. The first coming is the receiving of truth into the conscious mind, and the second coming is the awakening and the regeneration of the subconscious mind through the superconscious or Christ mind, developing your spiritual self. Okay? If you didn't watch the introductory video, this is me reminding you right now that if you have grown up reading the Bible, much of the Bible is in parable form, which is like fables, moral stories, things that we're supposed to gain understandings from once we understand the context and what symbolisms are being given to us to understand, to hold, to decipher. For some of these things, I'm going to refer you to the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, okay, to gain deeper understandings of some of the symbolism that you will find in the Bible and probably some other scriptures. Excuse me. So this is not the understanding that we're commonly given when we go experience church. You know, they understand it to the level that they understand it. But when you know that much of it came from the Egyptian mystery schools, and that sometimes things are lost in translation, or with different students sitting in the same class, they gain different understandings of the same information. If you've ever heard the story of the 3 blind men and the elephant, I believe it's an Indian story, India, where 3 blind men are positioned around an elephant, and they're touching it, and they're exploring it, and they're describing what they feel, what they understand from touching and being in the company of this elephant. And their descriptions, 3 different blind men have 3 different descriptions of what it is they're encountering. So with that understanding, people study, they disperse into the world, and they teach what they know. They teach what they know from their frame of reference, you know, from what they're able to gather, from what their background information tells them that they're looking at or listening to. You know, it's kind of like the difficulty in archaeology, that here you are maybe centuries later looking into a society, you know, that may not have functioned exactly like the one that's present now. The contexts are different, the challenges are different, and we're not always aware of why people do the things that they do. why they say the things that they say, the type of understandings that they had. You know, people who are in contact with nature on a daily basis, like farmers or pastoralists, they have a different understanding of a parable relating to ants, a parable relating to goats, relating to different things than city folks do. You know, it's a different understanding. We're not in physical contact on a daily basis with some of these things that are being talked about. But if properly explained, we can get a similar or the same understanding that the people who live with it had. So let me keep reading. It's going to seem a little different. I encourage you to do your remedial studies on spirituality. I'll try to point you in the right direction as I'm reading, you know, things that I've come across that help me to understand, you know, and thanks to Pastor Michael once again, whoop, whoop, be where I am today in this current study and excited about it. Okay, here we go. Going back one sentence. This is the first and the second coming of Christ, spoken of in the scriptures. The first coming is the receiving of truth into the conscious mind, and the second coming is the awakening and the regeneration of the subconscious mind through the superconscious mind or Christ mind. So that's growing in your understanding. Man expands and grows under divine evolution, divine timing, as an industrial plant grows. As the business expands, it is found that system is necessary. Instead of one man's being able to do the work with the assistance of few helpers, he requires many helpers. Instead of a few helpers, he needs hundreds. And in order to promote efficiency, he must have heads of various departments of the work. Scripture symbology calls the heads of departments in man's consciousness the 12 apostles. So put your imagination and visualization in place as we're talking through this chapter in order to gain understanding on the information that's being imparted, okay? Each of these 12 department heads has control of a certain function in soul or body. Each of these heads works through an aggregation of cells that physiology calls a ganglionic center. Jesus, the I am or central entity, has his throne in the top of the head, where phrenology locates spirituality. Think the chakra system. You have the crown chakra. That's where Jesus was functioning out of, in management of everything else. Hey, I need you to turn that down. Thank you. So he's in the top head where phrenology locates spirituality. This is the mountain where he so often went to pray. The following outline gives a list of the 12, the faculties that they represent, and the nerve centers at which they preside. Okay, this is bringing together different understandings. The more you study spirituality, the more that you encounter descriptions of things, you'll find yourself studying in a circle. You'll come around to the same information, but you'll understand it on a different level. And you'll see where a lot of the things that we're told are disconnected are actually connected. Okay? It's wonderful. Alrighty, so the following outline gives a list of the 12, the faculties that they represent, and the nerve centers at which they preside. Faith, i.e. Peter, center of the brain. Strength, who is Andrew, the loins. Discrimination or judgment, who is James, son of Zebedee, the pit of the stomach. This is where the 12 are functioning. Love, who is John, at the back of the heart. Power, who is Philip, the root of tongue. Imagination, Bartholomew, between the eyes. So that's the third eye chakra area. Understanding, understanding is Thomas, which is the front of the brain, frontal lobe. Will, which is Matthew, which is the center front brain. So there's the front brain, and then there's the center front brain. Order, who is James of Alphaeus, or the navel. Zeal, who is Simon, the Canaanian. Simon the Canaanian, which is the back of the head or the medulla. Renunciation or elimination, Thaddeus, which is the abdominal region. Life conserver, Judas, who is the generative function. The physiological designations of these faculties are not arbitrary. The names can be expanded or changed to suit the broader understanding of their full nature. For example, Philip, at the front of the tongue, governs taste. He also controls the actions of the larynx. So the front of the tongue, taste, the action of the larynx, as well as all the vibrations of power throughout the organism. So the term power expresses but a small part of his official capacity. The first apostle that Jesus called was Peter. Peter represents faith in things spiritual, faith in God. We begin our religious experience, our unity with divine mind, by having faith in that mind as omnipresent, all-wise, all-loving, all-powerful spirit. Faith in the spiritual man quickens spiritual understanding. What that puts me in mind of is something that Hamza Yusuf spoke about some years ago in one of his talks. He said, for people who don't believe that there's God, that God exists, there's proof of that. And for people that do believe that God exists, there is proof of that. So wherever you set yourself, you'll find the proof that you're looking for. And that's why a lot of times I think we're told, be careful what your intentions are when you approach the holy books, because if you're looking to justify something that you're believing, you may hurt yourself finding the evidence to justify what it is you're trying to justify. Whereas if you took a different stance, it would be an easier experience for you. Be careful what you ask for. And don't play with spirit, really. Just don't. Let me keep going. Faith in the spiritual man quickens spiritual understanding. Peter believed that Jesus was the Messiah. His faith opened his spiritual discernment. And he saw the living Christ back of the living Christ back of the personal mask worn by Jesus. When asked, who do men say that the Son of Man is? The apostles, looking upon personality as the real, said, some say John the Baptist, some say Elijah, and others Jeremiah or one of the prophets. Then Jesus appealed to their own inner spiritual understanding, and he said, but Who say ye that I am? Only Simon Peter answered, Thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. And Jesus answered, Thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades, or the grave, shall not prevail against it. I will give unto thee the keys of the kingdom of heaven. Between the introduction and this right here, I am thinking about the fear that some of us have been raised with when it comes to thinking about death. Oh, you don't want to die. Are you saved? Do you know where you're going? Be careful. Whereas if you're already connected, if you know who you are, whose you are, and how you are, you have no need to fear of death, because you come to the understanding sometimes that it's a crossing over from one phase to the next. I think, like I said, through reading the introduction, moving from third dimension consciousness to a fourth dimension or fifth dimension consciousness, it's just an adjustment into a new way of being. We may phase out of what we understand this life is, this tactile life, into something greater. There's no need to fear it. If your energetic engagement in this life was positive and pure and as close to unconditional love as you can manage, then you should have an easier time transitioning into your next phase. There shouldn't be any fear, because you're connected to the Most High, and that should be the comfort that you need in order to progress into that next phase. Okay, at least that's the way that I am taking it in. Let me keep reading. Thou art Peter, upon this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades, or the grave, shall not prevail against it. I will give unto thee the keys of the kingdom of heaven. Spiritual discernment of the reality of man's origin is being. Man's origin and being is the only enduring foundation of character. It was to this faith, in the understanding of the real being of man, that Jesus gave power in earth and heaven. It was not to the personal Peter that Jesus gave the keys to his kingdom, but to all who, through faith, apply the binding or affirming and loosening the denying power of spirit in the earth. Substance consciousness, he calls it. Right here and now, the great work of character building is to be done. And whoever neglects present opportunities, looking forward to a future heaven for better conditions, is pulling right away from the kingdom of heaven within himself. If you understand where the kingdom of heaven is, then you're not going to look for it in an afterlife. Hell, you create hell for yourself here in how you conduct yourself. The interactions that you develop between yourself and other people can make living on this realm a hellish experience. And that can carry on into your next phase. If you're battling or in conflict with things in this life on this realm, expect to be battling and in conflict on the next level, when you pass into the next phase of existence, into the afterlife, into the next incarnation. All right. So he says, looking forward to a future heaven for better conditions is pulling right away from the kingdom of heaven within himself. People who live wholly in the intellect deny that man can know anything about God because they do not have quickened, quickened faith. The way to bring forth the God presence, to make oneself conscious of God, is to say, I have faith in God. I have faith in spirit. I have faith in things invisible. Drawing the connection between yourself and the Most High, the I Am consciousness. Acknowledging that you are not alone on this existence. Acknowledging that there is a higher power that you're connected through, that you're connected to, that can have great influence on the experience that you have in this life, in this realm. Let me keep reading. Such affirmations of faith, such praise to the invisible God, the unknown God, will make God visible to the mind and will strengthen the faith faculty. When your mind is open and willing to accept new ideas, different ideas, you're able to actually experience, to see. You're opening yourself up to having greater experiences. If your mind is closed and fixed, you're right here. Whatever is directly in front of your sight, this is the only thing that you see. It's like seeing the trees, but if you open up yourself, you can see the forest, not just the one or two trees in front of you. Okay, this existence is vast. And it just depends on how open you're willing to be. Use your discernment, of course, along the way, because depending on where you're getting your information from, you need to figure out how to be selective, to be able to discern where people are coming from with how they give the information to you, what and how much information they give to you. Those are my thoughts. All righty. Such affirmations of faith, such praise to the invisible God, the unknown God, will make God visible to the mind and will strengthen the faith faculty. Thus, faith, i.e., Peter, is called and instructed spiritually. When a center loses its power, it should be baptized by the word of spirit. We are told in the scriptures that Philip went down to Gaza, the same as desert, and there baptized a eunuch. Gaza means a citadel of strength. It refers to the nerve center in the loins where Andrew, or strength, reigns. The quotation is, lo now, his strength is in his loins. Gaza is the physical throne of strength, as Jerusalem is the throne of love. This puts me in mind of the root chakra. I may be wrong, but I'm thinking of the root chakra right now. The back grows weak under the burden of material thought. Oh, let me back up a little bit. So here's the quote. Lo now, his strength is in his loins. Gaza is the physical throne of strength, as Jerusalem is the throne of love. Jerusalem is the throne of love. That sounds like the heart chakra. The back grows weak under the burden of material thought. If you are given to pains in your back, if you become exhausted easily, you may know at once that you need treatment for freedom from material burdens. Eliminate from your mind all the thought of burdens of the world, the burdens of your life, and all seeming labors. Take your burdens to Christ. So, right here, with the understanding that Stress is often self-induced, unless you're in particular circumstances. Whatever stresses you may be experiencing start in the mind, related to how you process, how you think about challenges that you may be facing, circumstances that you may be in. Your mindset regarding those things increases or decreases your stress level. If you put less emphasis on the importance of certain things, I'm not saying don't pay your bills. By no means am I saying that, because that's how this realm functions. You need to make money to pay your bills. But regarding bill paying, if you know you're working and the money is going to come in, if the company wants their money on the 20th, but you don't get paid till the 23rd, it makes no sense stressing for an extra 2 days until the money comes in. They gonna get their money, maybe with 2% interest. They're gonna get the money because the money is going to come in. Do not let them stress you, or do not stress yourself, because things are already in place. If your thoughts, words, and actions are promoting a positive resolution, then there is no need to worry. There is no need to stress over a thing. Hopefully you're not at the point of, having a shut off notice. That indicates a different set of things you need to think about, prioritizing bill paying, working that extra job if you need to do that. But if the money is coming in and it's just a matter of the dates, something that worked for me: when you get your tax returns, don't run and spend it. Use it as a buffer between your bills and your paycheck. Sit it in the account. If the bill needs to be paid on the 20th, pay it, because you got the money sitting there, and that money will be replenished when your check hits, right? So give yourself a buffer. That's a different way of preparing. Prepare so you don't have to get ready. Be ready so you don't have to get ready. And that's a means of reducing your stress. If you put things in place to make sure that you're covered, upgrade your thinking. It doesn't always have to be a struggle if you properly prepare. Then that's just an example. Let me keep going. Your mind, all thoughts of the burdens of the world, the burdens of your life, and all seeming labors. Take your burdens to Christ. If your thoughts, words, and deeds are already in alignment, put it in God's hands. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. You're not functioning by yourself. You're not here alone. You are always connected. It's just a matter of your realizing how connected you are, increasing that connection, developing your personal relationship with the Most High, so that you can put those burdens on Him and rest that things are going to be taken care of in divine timing. Like I said, you handle your part, He handles His part, and it's taken care of. No need to stress. We are pressed upon by ideas of materiality. Thoughts make things, and the material ideas that are pressing upon us are just as substantial in the realm of mind as material things are substantial in the realm of matter. Okay? Everything has origin in thought, and material thoughts will bring forth material things. So you should baptize and cleanse with your spiritual word every center, as Philip baptized the eunuch of Gaza. Baptism is cleansing, okay? Whether it is a renewing of your thought processes, what's that term? Be ye renewed by the replenishing of your mind, something to that effect. Adjust how you think about things, and it will adjust your physical reaction and your mental reaction to the way that you're living, how you are at any given moment. So you should, okay, baptism is cleansing. It always represents the erasing power of the mind. Once again, it all starts in the mind. Reset your mind, adjust how you think about a thing, and it will take care of itself, related to stress and your etheric body and how things pan out for you, regarding physical illnesses, mental illnesses, that type of thing. If you have the proper mindset and you conduct yourself in a way that you've prepared things in advance, it's smooth sailing, essentially. Really, it's just a matter of practicing putting these things in place to make your existence that much smoother. When the baptizing power of the word is poured upon a center, this is affirmations. Affirmations, using affirmations, speak to the different parts of your body, speak to yourself, speak to the Most High, develop the relationship with your body, your mind, your spirit, your connection to the Most High. Develop that with affirmations. When the baptizing power of the word is poured upon a center, it cleanses all material thought. Impotence is vitalized with a new life, and the whole subconsciousness is awakened and quickened. The word of the Lord is there sown in the body. And once the word of the Lord is sown in any of these centers, the cells of which are like blank photograph records, they take the thought that is given them and send it through the whole organism. You are programming your body, you're programming your mind, you're programming your life. You are authoring your manifestation. Okay, what you have, you manifested it by the way that you think and speak. Think, speak, and act. What you have gained, what you have experienced outside of things that you can't control have been manifested by your thoughts, words, and deeds. So once again, adjust that and you'll have different results. You can't expect to do the same things and get different results. It starts with your words. Words have energy. Look that up too. In Pinterest, there are several charts on word frequencies. Certain words have higher frequencies. Certain words have lower frequencies. So it's the difference between stress and spiritual connection. I'm drumming it in. Let me keep going. The cells are like blank photograph records. They take the thought that is given them and send it through the whole organism. The baptism of strength goes to the uttermost parts of the body and every one of the 12 powers. Under the divine law, feels the new strength. James, the son of Zebedee, represents discrimination and good judgment in dealing with substantial things. James is the faculty in man that wisely chooses and determines. It may be in the matter of food. It may be in the matter of judgment about relation of external forces. It may be in the choosing of a wife or a husband. In 1,000 different ways, this faculty is developed in man. The spiritual side of the James faculty is intuition, quick knowing. James and John are brothers, and Jesus called them sons of thunder. These brothers preside over the great body brain called the solar plexus. Once again, this is a reference to the chakra system. The great body brain called the solar plexus or sun center. James has his throne at the pit of the stomach, and John just back of the heart. You can make charts as we're talking about this. Okay. One word chart so that you're using the different words, names, and descriptions. You can have that as one chart and then have a body chart where you put the different names and what their function is or their description word. Okay. They are unified by bundles of nerves and are metaphysically closely related. Whatever affects the stomach will sympathetically affect the heart. You ever had your heart pace quicken and then you're feeling butterflies in your stomach or needing to go to the bathroom right quick? It's related. That is why. Okay. People with weak stomachs nearly always think they have heart trouble. So you can be having that feeling of, oh my gosh, my stomach is turning over and I feel like I'm having a heart attack. That's because they're related. Let me keep going. Jesus called those two apostles sons of thunder, tremendous vibrations or emotions that go forth from the solar plexus. When your sympathies are aroused, you will find that you begin to breathe deeply and strongly. And if you are very sympathetic, you can feel the vibrations as they go out to the person or thing to which you are directing your thoughts. Have you ever felt somebody else's stress? Particularly if they walked in the room and didn't say anything, but you feel the energy in the room change. If you're sensitive in that way, that's why. You're reading the vibrations emanating off of somebody else's body. Whatever they're thinking about that may be stressing or distressing them, or if they're feeling very happy and spiritually connected, that's a different feeling. But if you're sensitive in that way and you feel the changes in a room when somebody walks in, that's what's going on. Okay, the energetic connection. All fever, all the high energy that comes from soul passes through these centers, chakra centers. Bartholomew represents the imagination. The imagination has its center of action directly between the eyes. This is the point of expression for a set of tissues that extend back into the brain and connect with an imagining or picture making function near the root of the optic nerve. Okay. Through this faculty, you can project an image of things that are without or ideas that are within. For instance, you can project the image of jealousy to any part of your body, and by the chemistry of the thought, combined with function, make your complexion yellow, or you can or you can image and project beauty by thinking goodness and perfection for every body. Bartholomew is connected directly with soul and has great power in the pictures of the mind. Jesus saw him under a fig tree, a long way off, before he was visible to the natural eye. Do not imagine anything but good, because under the law of thought combined with substance, it will sooner or later come into expression. Manifestation by thoughts. Okay? Unless you head it off, eliminate it by denial. So any thought that you hold for a long period of time will materialize. If you walk into a situation with a certain expectation, you're holding your thoughts, you're picking your words, you're conducting your actions in a way that's going to draw what you're expecting to you. So if you walk in the door expecting to have an excellent experience, high level interactions with people, they're going to feel that from you. You know, we're sharing our energies as we come into contact with each other. We're sharing our energies just by thinking about each other. If you're one of those people who, you know, you feel somebody's heavily in your thought processes, and within a few minutes they call you, or you feel them, you know that they're under stress some kind of way. You call them and you're like, okay, how you doing? What's going on? And they're like, oh, I was just thinking about you. I know what's going on. And whatever they tell you is a direct reflection of the energy you were feeling when you were thinking about them. That's how connected we are with each other. Okay. How connected we are, how the manifestation process works. You know, you send out the energy, you send out the thought, you send out the image, and you get back the energy, the strength, the, you know, whatever the desire was, good or bad. Let me keep reading. Man has faculties of elimination as well as appropriation. So shedding or acquiring. My words, not his. Man has faculties of elimination, of shedding, as well as appropriation, acquiring. If you know how to handle them, you can expel error from your thought body, change your thoughts into a more positive, powerful set of word usages. The denial apostle is Thaddeus, presiding in the abdominal region, the great renunciator of the mind and the body. All the faculties are necessary to the perfect expression of the man. None is despised or unclean. Some have been misunderstood. Through ignorance, man has called them mean until they act in a way and cause him pain and sorrow, calling it into existence. The elimination by Thaddeus of the waste of the system through the bowels is a very necessary function. Thomas represents the understanding power of man. He is called the doubter because he wants to know about everything. Thomas is in the front brain, and his collaborator Matthew, the will, occupies the same brain area. These two faculties are jointly in occupation of this part of the promised land. Okay. The struggle over your conscious mind is what comes to mind. I hope those dots properly connect. Let's keep reading. These two faculties are jointly in occupation of this part of the promised land. Like the land of Ephraim and Manasseh, their inheritance in undivided is undivided. Their inheritance in undivided. That's what it says. James, the son of Alphaeus, represents divine order. His center is at the navel. Simon, the Canaanian, represents zeal. His center is at the medulla, at the base of the brain. When you burn with zeal, you are anxious to accomplish great things. You generate heat at the base of your brain. If this condition is not balanced by the cooperation of the supplying faculties, you will burn up the cells and impede the growth of the soul. For the zeal of thy house hath eaten me up, is the quote. Judas, who betrayed Jesus, has his throne in the generative center. Judas governs the life consciousness in the body, and without his wise cooperation, the organism loses its essential substance and dies. Judas is selfish. Greed is his devil. Judas governs the most subtle of the beasts of the field, sensation. But Judas can be redeemed. The Judas function generates the life of the body. We need life, but life must be guided in divine ways. There must be a righteous expression of life. Judas, the betrayer of Jesus, must in the end be cleansed of the devil, selfishness. Having been cleansed, he will allow the life force to flow to every part of the organism. Instead of being a thief, drawing to the sex center of the vital forces necessary to the substance of the whole man, Judas will become a supplier. He will give his life to every faculty. In the prevailing race consciousness, Judas drains the whole man, and the body dies as a result of his selfishness, his selfish thievery, excuse me. Ooh. It is through Judas, the desire to appropriate and to experience the pleasure of sensation, that the soul, Eve, is led into sin. Through the sins of the sex life, casting away of the precious substance, the body is robbed of its essential fluids and eventually disintegrates. The result is called death, which is the great and last enemy to be overcome by man. Immortality in the body is possible to man only when he has overcome the weaknesses of sensation and conserves his life substance. When we awaken to the realization that all indulgence for pleasure alone is followed by pain, then we shall know the meaning of eating of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, or pleasure and pain. If you would build up your faculties under the divine law, redeem Judas. First, have faith in the power of spirit, and then speak to Judas the word of purity. Speak to him the word of unselfishness. Baptize him with the whole Spirit, Holy Spirit. If there is in you a selfish desire to exercise sensation, to experience the pleasures of sense in any of its avenues, give that desire to the Lord. In no other way can you come into eternal life. These 12 powers are all expressed and developed under the guidance of divine mind. Divine mind, not by might nor by power, but by spirit, saith Jehovah of hosts. You must keep the equipoise. You must, in all the bringing forth of the 12 powers of man, realize that they come from God, that they are directed by the word of God, and that man, Jesus, is their head. And with that, I'm going to conclude this video. Thank you for hanging in here with me, enjoying this very much. I refer you to the book, ebook, and audio versions of The 12 Powers of Man so you can follow along or read ahead. If you have any comments, if you have any comments, please leave them below. If you want to make direct contact, you can do so through pullyourpowerback@gmail.com. I will continue with Chapter 2, The Development of Faith, next week. And until then, be well. I will talk to you soon.